Part 1. You're not free. You're following a script. You wake up. You scroll. You work. You react. You repeat. And you tell yourself, this is life. This is me. But cold mind sees deeper. You're not living. You're executing. An old script. A script written by fear, by approval, by survival. It was built before you ever knew how to choose. Before you even knew you were making choices. And now, you call it personality. That's just who I am. Number. That's just who you were programmed to be. Every thought you defend, every feeling you protect, every limit you accept. None of it is original. It's a rerun, a recycled loop, a pattern you mistook for me. As long as you obey it, you'll die without ever really living. You weren't born to memorize a script. You were built to burn it. Burn the rules, burn the limits, burn the identity they handed you. If you don't destroy the old script, you'll keep living someone else's design. Part 2. Scripts are installed. Freedom is rewritten. You think you're free because you can pick a coffee flavor, because you can swipe left instead of right, because you can decide what to wear today, what show to watch, what caption to post. But cold mind sees through the surface. That's not freedom. That's decorative choice, cosmetic autonomy, the illusion of control on a stage where the script was already written before you even arrived. Real freedom starts much deeper. It starts where your reactions are formed, where your instincts are trained, where your emotional triggers are programmed, often without your permission. Cold mind knows what you don't want to see, every fear you fiercely protect, every truth you passionately defend, every dream you quietly downsize to make it more realistic. None of it started with you. It started with what they taught you to fear, what they punished you for wanting, what they rewarded you for surrendering, what they praised you for conforming to. The script was installed, line by line, fear by fear, compromise by compromise. And now, you protect it. You obey it. You even call it just my personality, as if surviving your past is the same thing as designing your future. It's not. Survival wrote the first draft of your operating system. But survival doesn't care if you thrive. It doesn't care if you lead, if you master, if you expand. It only cares if you stay small enough to stay safe. Safe from judgment, safe from rejection, safe from risk. And here's the trap: as long as you operate from that old script, every new goal, every fresh start, every big breakthrough you chase is still confined inside the architecture of your old blueprint. You chase new results with old code. You dream of new freedom while running the same old commands. And every time you react without questioning, you rehearse the past. Again, you reinforce the bars of a cage you don't even remember building. Cold mind knows You can't improve a broken script. You can't edit it. You can't heal it. You can't tweak it and hope it transforms. You have to burn it. You don't ask, is this thought true? You ask, who installed this thought? You don't ask, is this fear valid? You ask, whose hands put this fear inside me? If it wasn't you, it burns. If it came from fear, it's deleted. If it was designed to keep you quiet, small, and obedient, it burns. The life you want isn't inside their blueprint. It's hiding behind the fire. You're too scared to start. The only way to become free is not to perform better inside the script. It's to delete the script altogether. And then, and only then, rewrite your own. Part 3. Signs you're running an old script without knowing it. You think you're awake. You think you're making decisions. You think you're steering your own life. But cold mind sees the truth. You're not fully choosing. You're not fully in control. You're just replaying an old script that was installed in you long ago. How can you tell? 1. You react faster than you think. Before you even process a situation, you find yourself defending, justifying, agreeing, or complying. There's no conscious pause, no real reflection, no space for deliberate choice. It's just automatic execution, running on old reflex patterns you learned years ago. 2. You hear old voices in new moments. When you face today's decisions, you still hear their judgment, their disapproval, their expectations, even if they're no longer present. Parents, teachers, past peers, past failures. And without realizing it, you adjust your actions to avoid imaginary criticism, shrinking yourself to stay safe inside an invisible cage. 3. You sabotage new goals. You tell yourself you want change. You claim you're ready for something new. But the moment you start, you delay, procrastinate, find excuses, or quietly back away. Not because you're incapable, but because the old script feels threatened by anything new. That old code only craves familiarity and safety, even if it means trapping you in frustration. 4. You confuse survival with identity. You say, that's just who I am. That's just my nature. But cold mind reveals the truth. It's not your nature. It's the identity you built to survive the past. You didn't choose it consciously. You adapted to circumstances to protect yourself. What you call me is often just what kept me safe back then. 5. You feel invisible resistance when you try to grow. Every time you try to rise, push past old limits, or break new ground, you feel a heaviness, a fog, a fatigue. That seems to come from nowhere. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's the old script, fighting for its life inside you. It whispers, stay small. Stay safe. Don't push further. And if you listen, you'll feel temporary relief. But it comes at the price of long-term regret. Cold mind sees through all the noise. You're not failing. You're following. Following an old script, running old commands, answering old fears. But here's the brutal truth. That script was never meant to set you free. Until you burn the script, question the inherited code, and break the loop, you'll keep mistaking survival for destiny, and you'll spend your life calling it fate. Part 4. Why burning feels wrong and staying feels safe. You see the loop. You feel it pulling you every day. You recognize the cycle. Same patterns, same thoughts, same limits. You tell yourself, I need to break free. I want to change. I want more. And yet, you stay. Why? Because your mind, your nervous system has been conditioned to mistake familiar pain for safety. Cold mind uncovers the truth. Your brain doesn't sit there asking, is this helping me grow? Is this expanding my potential? Is this aligned with my highest self? Number. Your brain only asks, have we survived this before? If the answer is yes, even if the experience has been filled with frustration, misery, or quiet suffering, your system locks you in. Why? Because survival. It doesn't care about happiness. It doesn't care about mastery, growth, or freedom. It only craves predictability, familiarity, and staying inside. What's known. That's why burning the script feels so wrong. It's not just emotional resistance, it's biological resistance. You're not just fighting old habits or old thoughts. You're facing the body's survival reflex, the instinct to cling to anything predictable even if it's suffocating you. At the edge, the system whispers, wait, be careful. Are you sure you're ready to let this go? Because the battle isn't just about changing actions. It's about the death of the identity that once helped you survive. You wonder, if I let go of this, who will I be? And the old code answers, stay small. Stay where you know the rules. Stay where you know how to survive. Cold mind goes deeper. If you listen, if you obey that voice, you stay stuck. Not because you're incapable, not because you're broken, but because you keep mistaking old pain for your true self. The truth? You've worn this armor. For so long, you believe it's your skin. But it's not. It's just the protection that once kept you alive. Here's the reality. You don't fix old scripts. You don't patch them. You don't gently adjust them and hope for better outcomes. You burn them. You burn the script. Not because it's bad, not because it's evil, but because it's expired. You cannot find freedom by negotiating with what no longer serves you. You cannot walk into a new future while still dragging an outdated identity behind you. It's created by stepping into the fire, letting the old version dissolve, installing pure new code. Cold. Mind knows, if you don't burn the script, you will spend your life inside a story you didn't write, playing a role you never chose, and calling it your destiny. You weren't born to rehearse old survival. You were born to ignite, to rise, and to claim your own freedom. Part 5. Burn the script, rewire by rebellion. Cold mind doesn't sit and wait for healing. It doesn't sit around hoping you'll feel ready. It doesn't wait for the perfect emotional moment. It rewires through rebellion. Because the only way to kill a script is to refuse to act it out. No tears, no journaling, no closure letters, no emotional processing, just interruption, just rebellion, just fire. Here's the cold mind strategy. 3 sharp phases. No mercy, no compromise, no excuses. 1. Name the loop. The script only controls what you refuse to confront. So the first step is exposure. when the emotion spikes, when the reaction rises, when you feel that tight, familiar pull, you don't sit there analyzing. You don't ask, "Why am I like this?" You name it. Out loud. This is the fear of disappointing my father. This is the guilt script from childhood. This is not me. This is old code. This is the approval-seeking loop they taught me. Naming breaks the illusion. It pulls the invisible into the open. And nothing exposed survives unchanged. Most people lose because they stay trapped. Inside the invisible, cold mind wins because it exposes what was hiding. 2. Refuse the cue. Every script has a cue, a trigger, a word, a tone, a glance, and every time it hits, you feel that old pattern, pulling you forward. Automatic, reflexive, predictable, but not anymore. Now, when the cue fires, you stop, you freeze, you breathe, you let the cue hit, and you refuse to move. You don't defend, you don't explain, you don't collapse into the old role, you don't feed the script, because refusal isn't weakness, it's precision. When the old reaction is begging to rise, you go still, like an assassin, watching a target walk by. No struggle, just deletion. 3. Install a counter script. Burning isn't enough. You can't leave empty space. You have to replace the ashes. But this time, you write the code. Not your fear, not your trauma, not your childhood ghosts. You. So what does the new script say? It says, I pause instead of defend. I walk away instead of seek approval. I choose discomfort over compliance. I act even when I feel doubt. You make it cold. You make it clear. You make it repeatable. And then you run it again and again and again until it becomes your new default. Because repetition is law, and law becomes identity. This isn't about healing, it's about war. And war doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't care if you're scared. It only cares who writes the next command. The old script was installed. This one is authored. By force, by fire, by conscious, relentless choice. Cold mind knows you don't wait to feel brave. You act. Cold. Sharp. Now, part 6. Final message. You're not stuck. You're just obeying. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're not truly stuck. You're just following instructions. You never questioned. A script, a loop, a default that's been running for years. And here's the brutal truth. That script doesn't care if you're miserable. It doesn't care if you feel caged. It only cares that you obey. You weren't built for freedom. You were built to comply. Trained to seek approval. Trained to avoid rejection. Trained to shrink yourself. To fit systems that punish. Fire, punish rebellion. Punish anything that dares to move differently. And now, that training runs your life. You chase validation like it's purpose. You call silence failure. You treat rejection like it's death. But here's what cold mind knows. Rejection is not death. It's the beginning. Real life doesn't start when you feel ready. It doesn't start when it's safe. It doesn't start when it makes sense. It starts the moment you stop reading, the lines you were handed, the moment you burn the script you were told to memorize. Cold mind doesn't wait for permission. It rewrites the code with fire, with structure, without hesitation. You don't need to feel different. You just need to stop performing. The mind rewires under action, not emotion, not someday, not later. Now, CTA, transition to next video. In the next video, we'll dismantle the core identity that's been speaking through your mouth. The mask you think is you, but was designed to keep you compliant. Subscribe. Stop the role. Burn the name. Rebuild the mind.